My lawyer texted call now. He revealed my daughter's secret plan to take everything from me. My hands were shaking as I stared at my phone. 3 missed calls from Gerald, my lawyer, then a text that froze the blood in my veins. Tom, call me now. Don't go to your daughter's house. I mean it. I was literally putting on my coat, ready to drive to Lindsay's place in Springbank for Sunday dinner. She'd been so persistent all week. Dad, you never come over anymore. The kids miss you. I'm making your favorite pot roast. How could I say no to that? But Gerald's message changed everything. That I sank back into my old leather couch, the same one Margaret and I bought 32 years ago when we first moved into this house in Mount Royal. My late wife would have known what to do. She always did. But she'd been gone 4 years now, and I'd been navigating life alone ever since I dialed Gerald's number with trembling fingers. Tom, he answered quickly, his voice tight and professional. But underneath it, I heard something else. Concern. Where are you right now? Are you alone? I'm home, Gerald. What's going on? You're scaring me. Good. Stay there. Lock your doors. I'm coming over. You need to see some documents I received this morning. 20 minutes later, Gerald sat across from me at the dining table, spreading papers like evidence at a crime scene. Tom, he said carefully, 3 days ago your daughter Lindsay and her husband Derek filed a petition with the Court of Queen's Bench. He paused, meeting my eyes. They're applying to have you declared mentally incompetent, to become your legal guardians and take control of all your assets. The words hit like a physical blow. I actually felt dizzy. That's insane, I stammered. I'm 67, not 97. I volunteer at the food bank. I manage my own investments. I just renewed my driver's license last month without a single issue. My voice rose with panic. Why would they do this? Gerald slid another document toward me. Because of this. Your house is now worth about $2.4 million. Your investments, $1.8 million. Add in your pension and savings, and your total estate sits just over $5 million. I knew Margaret and I had done well. We'd worked hard, saved carefully, invested wisely. But hearing it laid out so plainly made me feel exposed, like prey being sized up. Lindsay knows about the house value, I murmured. We talked about it last Christmas. She joked that I was sitting on a gold mine. It wasn't a joke, Tom. Gerald opened his laptop and turned it toward me. Look at this. He showed me their financial records. Lindsay and Derek were drowning. They bought that massive house in Springbank Hills, $650,000 mortgage. Then Derek convinced her to invest in a cryptocurrency venture. They lost $400,000. Josh's private school loan costs $38,000 a year, and their property taxes are $20,000. I just stared at the screen. How do you know all this? Because they included it in the petition, Gerald said. They're arguing that they need to protect your assets from your so-called declining mental state before you make irresponsible financial decisions. He sighed. Tom, they've been building a case against you for at least 6 months. He showed me the so-called evidence. Photos of me at Safeway, apparently looking confused in the cereal aisle. I was just trying to find a brand Margaret used to buy. A statement from their doctor, claiming I seemed disoriented during a checkup. I'd had a bad cold that day and forgot which medications I'd already taken. Even a recording where I couldn't remember my phone number. I'd accidentally given them my old one from before I switched carriers. Every normal moment of aging, twisted into proof of incompetence. This is fraud, I said quietly. This is elder abuse. Yes, Gerald said. And unfortunately, it's becoming more common. Adult children going after their parents' estates before they die. Courts see it all the time. He closed his laptop. The hearing is in 2 weeks. They move fast, hoping to catch you off guard. What happens if they win? I asked. They'll become your legal guardians. They'll control your bank accounts, investments, your home, everything. They could sell your house, move you into assisted living, make your medical decisions. You'd lose your autonomy completely. He paused. And Tom, given their financial state, I'd estimate your house would be on the market within 3 months. My heart sank. The house where Margaret and I raised Lindsay. where we hosted birthdays, Christmas dinners, where Margaret took her last breath, holding my hand in our bedroom upstairs. They can't do this, I whispered. Lindsay wouldn't. She's my daughter. Gerald looked at me sadly. I'm sorry, Tom, but all the evidence suggests otherwise. They planned this carefully. They waited until after your car accident last year, documented every name you forgot, every missed appointment. They've been crafting a narrative. I remembered that accident. A teenager had run a red light and hit me. The police report clearly stated it wasn't my fault. But now I understood why Lindsay insisted on attending my doctor's appointments afterward, why she'd started taking notes during our conversations. She was gathering ammunition. What do I do? I asked, my voice breaking. Gerald straightened. His tone hardened. The voice of a man preparing for war. We fight back. But you need be ready. This isn't just a legal battle, Tom. It's going to tear your family apart. I thought of Lindsay as a little girl, curled up in my lap, while I read her bedtime stories. How she'd clung to me at Margaret's funeral. How she told me she loved me just last week. But now, she was trying to destroy me. Her own father, for money. Tell me what to do, I said. Gerald nodded grimly. First, document everything. From now on, keep a daily journal. What you do, who you talk to, every clear decision you make, with times and details. Evidence that you're of sound mind. Got it. Second, we'll get you evaluated by an independent psychiatrist, not your family doctor. Someone credible who can testify that you're mentally sound. Fine. And third, Gerald said, leaning forward, you can't let them know you know. You must act completely normal. If they realize we're onto them, they might rush their plans or destroy evidence. That dinner invitation suddenly made sense. They wanted me there tonight for a reason, didn't they? I suspect so, Gerald said. Maybe to have you sign something disguised as routine paperwork, or stage a scene to make you appear confused. It's a setup. The betrayal hit me all over again. I felt my throat tighten, tears welling up. 67 years old, and my own daughter had reduced me to this. Gerald placed a hand on my shoulder. I've practiced law for 30 years, Tom. I've seen it too many times. Money doesn't always change people. Sometimes it just reveals who they really are. Over the next week, I did everything Gerald said. I kept meticulous notes of my days. Every crossword puzzle I finished, every volunteer shift at the food bank. I met with Dr. Sarah Chun, a geriatric psychiatrist who put me through a series of cognitive tests. Because if my own daughter wanted to declare me incompetent, I was going to prove her wrong. I scored well above average for my age group. Mr. Morrison, Dr. Chun said after our third session, I can state with complete professional confidence that you show no signs of cognitive decline, dementia, or mental incompetence. Your memory is excellent, your reasoning is sharp, and your judgment is sound. Frankly, you're sharper than many people half your age. Her words should have made me feel vindicated. But the hardest part wasn't proving I was fine. It was pretending everything was normal with Lindsay. She called me on Wednesday. Dad, I'm so sorry about Sunday, she said, her tone warm, familiar. Derek's mother had a fall, and we had a rush over. Can we reschedule for this weekend? Of course, sweetheart, I said, the word catching my throat. Is she okay? Oh, she's fine, Lindsay laughed. You know how dramatic she can be. That laugh, the same one I'd loved hearing since she was a child. For a fleeting moment, I almost believed things were normal, until she continued. Actually, Dad, while I have you, Derek and I wanted to talk to you about setting up a trust. You know, just some estate planning stuff. To make sure everything's organized in case, well, you know, we're not getting any younger. She was still trying, even now, with the hearing approaching. Even knowing I had legal representation, she was still trying to manipulate me into giving her control. That sounds like a good idea, I said carefully. Let me think about it. Don't think too long, Dad, she said lightly. These things are time-sensitive. You never know what might happen. Was that a threat? I couldn't even tell anymore. That night, my grandson Josh called. He was 15, a good kid, thoughtful, kind. Grandpa Tom, can I come over? I need to talk to you alone. Of course, Josh. Is everything okay? I just need to see you. Please. 20 minutes later, he arrived on his bike, cheeks red from the cold. He looked nervous, almost scared. Grandpa, I need to show you something, he said, voice shaking. But you have to promise not to tell Mom and Dad that I told you. My heart sank. Josh, what is it? He pulled out his phone, hands trembling. I heard them talking last week. Mom and Dad. They didn't know I was home. I recorded it. I know it's wrong, but after I heard what they said, I thought you should know. He hit play, and suddenly, Lindsay's voice filled the room. I'm telling you, Derek, the hearing's in 2 weeks. Gerald Morrison might be his lawyer, but we have Dr. Patel's statement. We have the photos. We have everything documented. Derek's voice followed, calm and calculating. What if your dad fights it? With what? Lindsay snapped. We've been systematic. Every instance of forgetfulness, every misappointment, every moment he seemed confused. The judge will see a clear pattern of cognitive decline. Even if he fights, it'll cost him hundreds of thousands in legal fees. By the time it's over, there won't be much estate left anyway. Then Derek again quietly, and if we win? When we win, Lindsay corrected, her tone icy. We sell the house immediately. Even in this market, we'll clear at least $1.8 million after mortgage. That covers the crypto losses, gets us back to zero. Then we liquidate his investments, pay off our mortgage, and set up the trust for Josh's education. A pause. What about your dad? Where will he go? Lindsay's voice dropped, colder than I'd ever heard it. There's a nice assisted living place in Airdrie, much cheaper than Mount Royal. He'll be fine. He won't even know the difference soon enough. When the recording ended, Josh was crying. Silent tears streamed down his face. Grandpa, I'm so sorry, he whispered. I didn't know what to do. I love you, and they're talking about you like you're not even a person anymore. I pulled him into my arms. My grandson, the only one with the courage to do the right thing. You did the right thing, Josh, I said, holding him tightly. You did exactly the right thing. He wiped his eyes. Are they really going to take your house? The one you and Grandma lived in? Not if I can help it, buddy. I said quietly, not if I can help it. As soon as he left, I called Gerald. When he heard the recording, there was a long silence. Tom, he said finally, this changes everything. This is direct evidence of fraud and elder abuse. With this recording, we don't just defend, we attack. What do you mean? I mean, we're filing a counterclaim. Fraud, attempted financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit theft. And Tom, his voice hardened, we're going to make sure every judge in the Queen's bench knows exactly what your daughter tried to do. The hearing arrived faster than I was ready for. I sat in the courtroom with Josh beside me, his small hand gripping mine. Across the aisle, Lindsay and Derek sat stiffly next to their lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit. Lindsay couldn't even look at me. Justice Maria Rodriguez presided, mid-50s, steel-gray hair, eyes that missed nothing. She looked like someone who'd seen every kind of human deceit imaginable. Lindsay's lawyer went first. He painted a tragic picture, a loving daughter, desperate to protect her aging father from his own decline. He presented photos, Dr. Patel's notes, their so-called documentation of my confusion. Your Honor, he said solemnly, Mr. Morrison is clearly in the early stages of cognitive decline. His daughter, Mrs. Morrison Fletcher, is simply trying to ensure her father's substantial estate is protected and managed responsibly before he makes decisions that could jeopardize his financial security. Then it was Gerald's turn. Your Honor, he began, standing tall and composed, I'd like to present Dr. Sarah Chen's psychiatric evaluation, completed last week. Dr. Chen found no evidence whatsoever of cognitive decline. In fact, Mr. Morrison tested above average for his age group in all measures of mental competence. He handed the report to the clerk. The judge read it silently, her brow furrowing. I'd also like to present evidence, Gerald continued. that Mrs. Morrison Fletcher and her husband have been systematically misrepresenting normal, age-appropriate behavior as signs of incompetence, and that they have done so with the clear intent of seizing control of Mr. Morrison's assets. The confusion at Safeway, that's where it all began. Mr. Morrison was just looking for a specific brand of cereal. Then came the disorientation at Dr. Patel's office. He had the flu, a fever of 101, and that forgotten phone number? He'd recently changed providers and hadn't memorized a new one yet. But to Lindsay and Derek, these ordinary moments became their ammunition. Gerald, Mr. Morrison's attorney, stood before the court and calmly dismantled every piece of their fabricated evidence. "Your Honor," he said steadily, "most importantly, I have evidence of the true motive behind this petition." He pressed play. The courtroom fell silent as Josh's secret recording echoed through the room. Lindsay and Derek's voices were cold, calculated, discussing Mr. Morrison's estate like he was already dead. "The house goes on the market immediately. Liquidate his investments. He won't even know the difference soon enough." With every word, the judge's expression hardened. When the recording ended, Gerald's tone was calm but cutting. "Your Honor, this isn't a loving daughter protecting her father. This is a deliberate attempt at financial exploitation. Miss Morrison Fletcher and her husband are in deep financial trouble due to poor investments. They stand to gain over $5 million by having Mr. Morrison declared incompetent. They manipulated medical records, staged photographs, and built an entirely false narrative, all to steal their father's life savings." Lindsay's lawyer shot up from his chair. "Your Honor, this recording was obtained without my client's consent. It's inadmissible." Justice Rodriguez cut him off. "In a criminal trial, perhaps, but this is a civil guardianship proceeding, and I am very interested in understanding the motives behind this petition." She turned her gaze on Lindsay. "Miss Morrison Fletcher, would you like to explain why you're discussing selling your father's home and liquidating his assets while he's sitting right here, clearly of sound mind?" Lindsay's lips trembled. "Your Honor, that recording was taken out of context. We were discussing hypothetical estate planning." The judge's tone turned to ice. "Hypothetical estate planning that involves placing your father in assisted living while you pocket nearly $2 million from selling his home?" Justice Rodriguez shook her head. "I've been on this bench for 18 years. I know financial elder abuse when I see it." She looked down at the papers before her, then back at Lindsay and Derek. "I'm dismissing this petition with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order. Miss Morrison Fletcher and Mr. Fletcher are prohibited from contacting Mr. Morrison or coming within 100 meters of his residence for a minimum of 2 years. I'm also referring this case to the Alberta Crown Prosecution Service for potential criminal charges of fraud and elder abuse." Then her tone softened slightly as she turned to Mr. Morrison. "Mr. Morrison, I'm deeply sorry for what you've endured. No parent should ever have to go through this. I'm ordering that all legal fees associated with your defense be paid by the petitioners. And I strongly recommend you update your estate plan to protect yourself from any future manipulation." Lindsay was crying now, but not from guilt. These were the tears of someone watching her world collapse. "Dad, please," she cried as the court adjourned. "You have to understand." Mr. Morrison looked at her one last time. His voice was calm, but his heart was breaking. "I do understand, Lindsay. I understand that you were willing to destroy me for money, that you saw your father not as a person, but as an estate to be liquidated. The mother you claim to love will be ashamed of what you become." Josh, his grandson, the boy who'd had the courage to do the right thing, squeezed his hand. "Grandpa, can we go home now?" "Yes, Josh," Mr. Morrison said softly. "Let's go home." As they walked out of the courthouse, Gerald joined them. "Tom, that was incredibly difficult. How are you feeling?" Tom looked down at his grandson. "Honestly, I don't know, but I do know this. Not all family is blood, and not all blood is family. I lost a daughter today, but I gained the knowledge that I raised at least one person with integrity." That evening, sitting in the Mount Royal house he and his late wife, Margaret, had built together, Tom picked up the phone and called Gerald. "Gerald, I need to update my will." The house, the investments, everything. I want to create a trust for Josh's education and future. Lindsay gets nothing. Not a single dollar. She made her choice. Gerald hesitated. Are you sure, Tom? That's permanent. I'm sure, Tom said firmly. And Gerald, I want it written clearly why. I want the will to document exactly what she tried to do. So if she ever contests it, the truth is already there. Consider it done, Gerald replied. A week later, Josh moved in. His parents had kicked him out the moment they discovered he'd recorded them. 15 years old, and they'd chosen money over their own son. But Tom had a big house and a bigger heart, and for the first time in years, he had someone to put first again. Josh and I settled into a quiet new rhythm. Breakfast together before school. Homework at the dining table. Weekend drives into the mountains. He helped me in the garden, the same one where Margaret once grew her roses. Now we planted vegetables instead. One Saturday morning, as we knelt side by side pulling weeds, Josh looked up. Grandpa, do you ever forgive her? Mom, I paused, sitting back on my heels. Forgiveness isn't really about them, Josh. It's about freeing yourself from what they've done, so their actions don't poison what's left of your life. Do I forgive what your mother tried to do? No. Will I ever have a relationship with her again? Probably not. But I won't spend what time I have left being bitter. There's still too much living to do. And now, I've got you to help me do it. 6 months later, we stood together in the garden, looking at a small bronze plaque newly set into the soil. Margaret's name, her years, and the quote we'd chosen together. Family isn't always blood. It's the people who stand by you when everyone else walks away. Josh's voice was soft. Do you think Grandma would have liked it? I smiled. She would have loved it, Josh. And she'd be proud of you. My phone rang. It was Gerald. Tom, I thought you should know. The Crown's filed charges. Lindsay and Derek pled guilty to attempted fraud. They received suspended sentences and 2 years probation. It's on their record now. I was quiet for a moment. So it's really over. It is, he said gently. Your estate's secure. Your autonomy's protected. You can live the rest of your life in peace. I looked over at Josh, carefully watering the rows of vegetables we'd planted together. The grandson who had saved me and who I now had the chance to save in return. Thank you, Gerald, for everything. That night, as Josh worked on his homework and I read beside him, I realized something important. Lindsay had tried to take everything from me, my home, my money, my dignity, even my independence. But what she really did was remind me of what truly matters. It wasn't a house worth $2.4 million, though I was grateful to keep it. It wasn't the investments or the bank accounts. It was what sat across from me, a 15-year-old boy chewing his pencil, trying to solve algebra problems. Family, I realized, isn't about blood, obligation, or inheritance. It's about the people who show up when everything falls apart. It's about the ones who choose you when others turn away. Margaret used to say that people show you who they really are when there's something to lose. Lindsay showed me she'd trade her father for financial security. But Josh showed me that integrity and courage can still exist, even in the youngest generation, even when it costs them everything. I'm 67 now, and I've learned more in the past 6 months than in the previous 67 years. I've learned that trust is earned, not owed. That sometimes the people who claim to love you most are the ones who can hurt you the deepest. That real love isn't about words. It's about what you do when no one's watching. Most of all, I've learned that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That asking for help is courage. And that defending yourself against those who would take advantage of you isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. To anyone listening who might be facing something similar, hear me clearly. If someone in your family is trying to declare you incompetent, to take control of your life, to steal what you've built, fight back. Get a lawyer. Document everything. Trust your instincts. You are not crazy. You are not confused. You are not paranoid. If someone is trying to convince the world you're losing your mind, it's because they want something from you, not for you. And if you're the adult child of an aging parent hearing this, remember, Your inheritance isn't yours until it's yours. Your parents don't owe you their home, their savings, or their assets. They earn them. They decide what happens to them. If you try to take it through manipulation or deceit, you might win the money, but you'll lose something far more valuable. You'll lose yourself. Lindsay spent a year and a half scheming, months of manipulation, all for a potential inheritance that was never hers to begin with. And in the end, what did it cost her? Her father, her son, her reputation, her self-respect. Was it worth it? You'd have to ask her. But I think, in her quiet moments, she already knows the answer. As for me, I have a grandson to raise, a garden to tend, and a life to live. The house in Mount Royal isn't just an asset anymore. It's home. It's where Josh is learning to be a man of integrity, where Margaret's presence still lingers in every corner, where justice was served and family was redefined, and that is worth more than all the money in the world. If the story spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe to Silent Revenge for more stories about strength, justice, and self-mastery. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is peace.